Hi guys, this is Jean Holden, producer of the show, and I just wanted to take a minute to let you know where you can find us on the internet. Please go to ThatMan on Fatman.com. There you can find out all the things you need to know about the show. You'll be able to find links to the podcast, to YouTube, to Twitter, Facebook, even Instagram and Snapchat. Thank you so much for listening, guys, and we hope you enjoy the show.
Today's show is brought to you by Death Wish Coffee. Death Wish Coffee, the strongest coffee in the world.
This is Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman, and I want to urge you to make a generous donation to the Wayne Foundation so we can stop the sexual trafficking of children. Do it, or I'll find you.
And don't forget to check out our good friend of the show, Mark Live, over at chundertunes.com for all your podcast animation needs. ThatMan on Fatman is recorded with a Zoom H6 handy recorder. Zoom for creators.
Disclaimer. The show you're about to experience is for entertainment purposes only. The hosts use mature language and conversation just like in most of life. If you're too uptight, this might not be for you. All that said, we really do hope you enjoy the show. But if you don't enjoy it, expect a nice big shipment of my joyous Joker juice on your doorstep in the very near future. Toodles!
Yes, please note that use of all sound effects is done ironically.
Ooh-ah. You are listening to ThatMan on Fatman with Scott and Jean Holden, and they, trust me, have a great ass.
The second Y is sent in by
ThatMan on Fatman.
Oh, right on. Scott Holden.
Scott Holden, yep.
And what does Scott want?
Call me Scott because I'm Holden.
As the world's biggest Kevin Smith fan, I appreciate the fact that somebody finally made a podcast about that interesting motherfucker. So, yes, you absolutely did the right thing.
Okay, what has two thumbs and is a huge fan of Kevin Smith? ThatMan!
Scott, who does ThatMan on Fatman podcast.
Yeah.
Ooh-ah.
Well, once upon a time, just a regular man read a book written by the Fat Man. Tough shit written by old Kev Smith.
Ooh-ah. ThatMan on Fatman.
Kev said go out and start a podcast, and so I did, and I had a real blast. But my obsession was driving my co-host nuts.
Who is he? He's that man. He's talking.
Didn't want to bring the podcast down. Needed Porkchop Murphy to hang around.
Go get him, that man.
So I created a show with one heck of a plan, and I call that show ThatMan on Fatman.
ThatMan on Fatman.
Go get him, that man.
We're gonna talk about Kevin Smith.
ThatMan on Fatman. ThatMan on Fatman.
Go get him, that man.
We're gonna talk about Kevin Smith.
Go get him, that man.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to this episode 5-4. That's season 5, episode number 4 of ThatMan on Fatman. And I am Scott Holden. And joining me in the studio today is none other than co-host extraordinaire and producer Jean Holden.
Hi, guys. What's up?
And today, well, first of all, let's just say that our regular Smedlines person is also not appearing today because, again, her wedding. But she will be back next week for sure.
It takes precedence because being a bride is a very special day. And she looks gorgeous.
She's actually back in the world today, but we didn't even know that we were going to be recording this late in the game. So, but she gets one more week off.
And we extend our congratulations to you.
Yeah, total congratulations.
And your groom.
It was fun seeing some of the pictures and stuff from your journey.
And the happy faces.
And everybody give a nice shout out to @DANIRAT on Twitter. And congratulate her for her nuptials.
Yes. And check out freakyfandoms.com. That's another aspect of her life.
Yes. So the regular Smedlines will be back.
Yes. Now give the girl a
next
break,
week.
will you?
Yes.
Let her have some downtime.
And next week we'll also begin a special one of two parters because we'll have Pork Chop Murphy in the house. That's my old co-host of Bone Crushing Juggernaut, the
Wasn't that
original
fun?
co-host of Bone Crushing
That
Juggernaut.
was fun, right?
Yeah. My only concern is it's so inside that the audience is going to be bored.
Oh, no.
But like I don't care anyway because it's Pork Chop Murphy. So
No,
whatever happens, happens.
Yeah. Right.
I just feel like there might be too much, like too loose.
Yeah, but I've had that in podcasts. There's times that you listen to it, and then for some reason they're talking about something, and you kind of like zone out. But then when they when they kind of, zap out something you're like, then you're in tune again. It's okay. That's just what happens with podcasts. You're in and out sometimes. That's what I do. I mean, no offense to the podcast. It's awesome, but it just happens. It's good. It's all good.
But this week, I mean, it's actually kind of good that we don't have a long Smedlines or anything.
Yeah.
Because we do have a nice, long guest segment.
We do.
Because we have two guests this week. I think we talked a little bit about it last week. And it's come to fruition. That's right. We have, recently, Jessica Jones, season 2 dropped. And usually when that happens, we like to bring on our good buddy, Michael Joseph Consolmagno, who has worked on many of these Marvel Netflix shows at the base level, from set dressing and all that.
Yeah. The cool shit part.
Yeah, and in the past, also, the co-host of Fatman on Batman will join us today, Mr. Marc Bernardin. And
I know, right?
part of the reason we asked him on was because in the past he's expressed sort of not the most positive opinions of some of the Marvel Netflix shows.
Right.
Particularly Iron Fist.
I know. But can I say, though, one of my favorite people?
Yes, he's a great guy.
He's genuine.
Yeah.
Marc Bernardin is Marc Bernardin.
Well, hang on. Let me talk a couple of observations.
I just like him so much. Go ahead.
Now, first off, so we got them together, and I guess sort of the idea of being a little tension because you have a guy who works on a show that Mark kind of shit on a little bit.
Well, it's just fun because when everyone agrees, sometimes it's boring.
Now, here's something that came to me very early on. I've never done this. I've never interviewed two guests before.
Yeah.
And I quickly realized it was not as easy as I thought it was going to be.
I know. I mean, because one is a challenge sometimes.
Yeah.
Two is
Yeah. So
a little more.
I mean, if you hear me sounding uncomfortable, it's not a put on. The reason why is it was out of my comfort zone.
Right. Well, that's okay.
Yeah. And then there's also a point where I feel like I'm performing for Mark in there. Like I'm doing jokes like, hey, Mark's never heard these before. Let me land some of my good material from the past. So I felt, that's my insecurity coming out there.
Oh, you don't have to say it.
No, I like talking about it.
Well, that's good. I'm proud of you.
Yeah. So
these are things that you learn in podcasting. You're human.
So
everyone's not a robot.
Yeah. So now I haven't re-listened to the interview yet.
Right.
But
this is so
I'm just flagging these things in
just
advance.
Very sweet because so many people
these
do
are
that.
just things that I thought about, either at the time or immediately after.
But it's so funny because I'm thinking almost like a performing kind of like.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. There was a point where I felt like
something.
I was sort of performing for Mark.
Yeah,
it's
very natural and human. And
I view two different phases during that interview. It was
and
me uncomfortable trying to balance a double interview.
Right, and I know I'm your wife, but I'm going to say something like as not your wife. There's a really something about that is above and beyond great because people do that every day and they never say that they're doing that. So I say, awesome for you because you did that. So cool.
I saw it as
you were taking away from the guests.
It was a performance insecurity.
Yeah, I know. And people may not notice it, but people do it all the time. But the fact that you noticed it, it's like growth. I say,
Well, I mean,
awesome for you. Well, it's cool. People don't always look at their.
I've been
part
podcasting for 5 years now.
Yeah.
I would hope that.
And we always say this is about the guest. So if you do find yourself doing that, hey, why not say it? It's human.
But I mean, if anything, I was performing for the guest. So
well, yeah, but it's hard not to because you're like, ooh, I can do. I want to make him laugh because everyone wants to make their hero laugh or make someone they admire.
Yeah, exactly.
Laugh.
So that's why I was going to.
Especially if you're a comedian.
I was going to material on this show that I know I've used that I thought
Did he laugh?
were funny.
Did he
so,
laugh?
Yeah, I think I got some
good.
some chuckles in there.
That's more important that he laughed.
Yeah. But, all in all, I enjoyed this interview a lot.
Yeah.
There's one moment that I really enjoyed, and that was, and you'll tell. I mean, it's sort of when I start to talk to him about diversity.
Right.
And that's probably one of my favorite moments of the whole interview.
Right. Yeah, well, I am just very...
But it's more than an interview. This is just, I don't know what you call this. It's kind of a free-for-all.
Yeah, it is a free-for-all. It did feel like that at the time, too.
And we do try and get into the Marvel Netflix of it all. And we do get, I at least give my opinion of Jessica Jones.
Well, and it's cool because Michael
Mark
helped.
gives his.
Like, Mike added some stuff, too, because he also, views Mark as a... someone to look up to in the creative universe and someone to aspire to be almost identical to. So Michael was using the time to ask questions, and I appreciate that too. And if you have a guest like that, bring them on because, hey, the guest is helping you.
Yes, and Mike is a bit of a podcaster
himself. This is a team effort.
That's why.
Oh, yeah, and he's a podcaster.
Yeah, there's a bit. It also turns into a bit of a love fest at some point.
Yeah, but you know what? Why not? Because I want to say this too, because maybe I didn't really get to say it then, but I love Mark. Mark is genuine. It seems like Mark, out of the people that I've reached out to, Mark is very responsive. Mark is likes to communicate and with people and talk with people. He doesn't preach or talk at people. He likes to have, a conversation. And I've been able to kind of have that a little bit with him, and it's nice. And he's a really good guy.
Yes, he is. As is Michael. Michael's good people.
And Michael. Well, we always talk about Michael, don't we?
Yeah.
Michael Joseph Consolmagno is the best guy ever.
I think some of the union work that I've done recently comes up during this interview as well. So
that's so exciting.
So we're going to cover a lot of ground here.
Yeah.
So
if you love Mark, if you love Michael Joseph Consolmagno, if you love Marvel,
yes.
If
Netflix.
you love Kevin, if you love Netflix,
Marvel,
you'll love
Netflix,
the show.
Yeah. All right. So without any further ado, here is our special guest segment with both Michael Joseph Consolmagno and Marc Bernardin from Fatman on Batman. Well, they're not both from Fatman on Batman. Michael Joseph Consolmagno is a regular on this show and our buddy. Marc Bernardin is co-host of Fatman on Batman with Kevin Smith. And here we go. All right. I'm actually very thrilled about this next show because we've been teasing it for a little while. As you folks know, a regular on the program is none other than Michael Joseph Consolmagno, who has worked for various Netflix shows. And usually after a season has concluded, he'll come on and share with us his insights, and we'll talk about the show in general and all that good stuff.
And little extras that he experienced.
Yes. And also, someone who's been on the show a couple times is Mr. Marc Bernardin, and you may know him as the co-host of Fatman on Batman, and I had to think about that. But we want to bring these two together because in the past, Mark has given reviews that may have ruffled feathers, within the Marvel Netflix community, and we would like to see if we could smooth all that out and bring the love, and talk about Jessica Jones. But without any further ado, here is Michael Joseph Consolmagno and Marc Bernardin. Welcome, guys.
Hello.
Thank you.
Hey.
All right. So, where should we start?
You brought up the drama. It's not that much drama.
I know. Well, hey, we're doing a podcast here. We got to hype.
I know. You made it out like it's some Hatfields and McCoys level, like generations deep blood feud.
Well, hey, I'm trying to, drive listens here. But to that end, I did think it would be interesting to sort of, since you have given those, I think the show you were harshest on, Mark, was Iron Fist.
That would be true.
Yeah. And I know that Michael came on our show after that wrapped up, and there was a lot of backpedaling, or what would be a good, like, oh, you got to give it a break. And I don't think I hated it as much as others, but I didn't love it. It's certainly my least favorite of the series. But I guess why don't we kind of?
I came in with the defending it a little bit because I knew what was ahead, because when we wrapped these shows, like Jessica wrapped in September, and it's now premiering. So when Iron Fist wrapped, we had already shot most of Defenders, and when knowing what I knew from Defenders, what was going on, I knew that they had kind of handcuffed the Iron Fist show to begin with. So, like, I had that advanced knowledge that a normal viewer doesn't have. So Iron Fist, yeah, it came in soft, but I really, and to this day, I still feel it's because they pulled a DC. They were trying to set up this bigger show before they dealt with the show they had in front of them.
I would also like to say, just for the record, Mark, that the gentleman you're talking to on the set has the reputation of comic book Mike. He's like one of the diehards. And can you talk, Michael, turn him on to some of the little Easter eggs you were able to slip in there.
Oh, basically, anytime you see an Easter egg in the Marvel shows, I pretty much had a hand in it. And I searched all the internets after the shows are over because, Mark may know this because he actually works in the business, and he's at a higher creative level than I am. I'm not going to I'm not tooting my own horn or make myself seem bigger. Scott knows what I do.
Yes.
I help create the sets, and when I'm on set, I help keep continuity. I don't have any creative decisions, but I try to do what I can as a comic book fan. Because even though I work in a comic book TV show, not everybody in the crew cares about comic books.
Yeah.
I would say not everybody in the production office cares about comic books, but that's another story. So I come in with a history of loving these characters before I got to work on these characters. So, like, when I have a hospital room with Misty Knight, you're damn sure I'm going to be putting her creators on the board as her doctors, and I'm going to make sure that the issue number of their first appearance is going to be the door number that they use in their apartments. Little things like that.
That's awesome.
Yes.
I know, right?
So, like, Mike definitely has bona fides as a comic book guy. So there is someone in there who gives a shit.
I mean, I think a lot of people give a shit. I mean, I have always, been of the belief that nobody sets out to make a bad anything.
Yeah.
When like there's this many people working on a project, like nobody's like, you know what, let's do this at half speed. Nobody's going to notice. I always think that everybody's got the best of intentions. Everybody's working about as hard as they can work. I just think that sometimes, from when the water in the well is poisoned, then everything else tends to not grow quite the way it's supposed to grow. And I think that, there were some fundamental flaws with the story they decided to tell, at least for the first outing in Iron Fist, as well as, like, I'm just not in love with Finn Jones as Danny Rand. But, I don't think it was like, oh no, we set out to make a bad show, so here's our bad show. Far from it.
See, in truth, I was very forgiving of him in that role because, and I say this every time I talk about the show, he reminded me so much of my friend Tim, who was a kung fu hippie growing up, who walked around with bare feet and the whole thing. So I was like, oh, it's Tim. Okay, I get it.
See, but you had someone to relate him to.
Yeah.
If you're just looking at him as him, it's not, maybe people aren't really turned on by him.
The other thing that was funny is my favorite character in the first episode dies, and that was the junkie.
Oh my God.
I just got a kick out of him. I'm like, oh, maybe this is going to be the Huggy Bear,
I do know that it's a shorter season. I have not worked on Iron Fist 2. They work across the street. Right now we have 3 shows running at once. I'm currently on Punisher. I did some time on Daredevil Season 3 in January, before Punisher started. So we have the Iron Fist Season 2 is currently filming, but I do know it's a less episode order. So they're introducing him back into Luke Cage, which is not a spoiler or anything. It's already been released on the newswires. So I feel like they're feeling him out. And I know Finn took Defenders a lot more seriously in terms of rehearsal, because I worked on both shows, the full seasons of both Iron Fist 1 and Defenders. So I hope he came to task with Iron Fist 2 with training with the stunt guys and doing his time.
It's so funny. I had another podcaster on a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about Defenders, and I talked about. I kind of confessed early that I liked it. And he was like, "Oh my God, I'm so glad to hear someone else say that," because he really liked it too. And I think there is a bit of that. I think sometimes haters on the internet can shout down, people saying good things. What do you think?
I don't know. It is always easier to hate something than it is to love something, only because it's easier to say, "Oh, that sucked," as opposed to defending why you liked it.
Mm-hmm.
There's absolutely a crutch to being like, why didn't you like it? Well, because it just wasn't good. But why don't you think it was good? And then the argument begins to fall apart. And it's just harder to be able to support an argument than it is to destroy an argument. It's the old fucking Star Trek thing. It is easier to destroy than it is to create.
I can think of two movies right off the top of my head that all three of us did not like. And the first one would be Justice League. Mm-hmm. Am I right there? Are you guys all on board there?
Yes.
Yes, fair.
And the next one would be, and I'm taking a stab, but the latest Star Wars, The Last Jedi.
Yeah, I like The Last Jedi.
Did you?
I did.
Oh, wow. Okay, I guess we're not. We're 2 out of 3. Maybe we should get into that somewhat. We're all on board that Black Panther was great, though, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Me too. Even though I'm not even in the thing.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right, we're finding common ground. So why don't we talk a little bit about Jessica Jones 2? How much, Michael, did you work on Jessica Jones 2 first?
I worked at the beginning of the season. I worked the first 4 episodes mostly from a prep crew standpoint, but the full last episode, I was the on-set dresser for that episode.
Cool.
So 5 episodes in total.
That's almost half the run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that the season 2 of Jessica Jones is my favorite.
Wow.
Everything.
Now realize that is a woman saying that too, so that means something.
It blew.
Means that women like women characters? That's a shock.
I love. Why can't I think of her name?
I will say that. Okay, I'm on record as saying of all the Marvel shows, I really enjoyed Jessica Jones. First season 1 was my favorite, and I'm going to say season 2 continues in that legacy for me. I think it's the most interesting of the Marvel Netflix shows because it just takes you psychologically into places that I didn't think I was going.
I mean, come on, Trish talk.
Well, she's hot too. I love
her.
Yeah.
I love her.
Yeah, and it's funny all right. First of all, anyone out there listening, spoilers the fuck because it's been a couple weeks now.
Why? Because of Trish talk?
Okay.
That's not a spoiler.
Yeah, because we're gonna get it.
I will say that I've only seen the first 9.
Okay.
Are there 13 or the 10? I don't.
There's 13 in this one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a long one. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. So 9. What's the latest thing that happened in your run?
The last thing that I remember seeing is Trish barging into Jerry's apartment asking to put Junkie McWhat's-her-face on Trish Talk.
Okay, yeah. And she's all hopped up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Trish is continuing on her riding the white pony train.
Yeah, she's fully blown on Wildcat juice.
Yeah, pretty much.
Hellcat juice.
Hellcat juice. I'm sorry. Did I say Wildcat? Yes.
I am so blown away by the acting in the show in Jessica Jones.
Of late, I think that they do an excellent job.
They really do.
Half of it is casting.
Stellar.
Punisher. Did everyone see Punisher all the way through?
Another one.
Mm-hmm.
That was amazing.
Another stellar.
That was another amazing one.
Yeah.
The acting.
And honestly, it might be my favorite because it was the season 1 of Punisher. I had nothing to do with it.
I know. I was thinking that. Okay, you can cut loose then.
I mean, the acting is so above anything I've ever seen.
So it was great.
I love Micro. I love
he's
Micro.
great.
He was amazing.
All right, we want to take a moment to talk about Death Wish Coffee. That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, do yourself a favor and get over to deathwishcoffee.com. And there you can buy the strongest coffee known to man without a prescription.
The world's strongest coffee ever.
Yes, as proudly displayed on my wife's sweatshirt over there.
Yes, on my body,
Yes.
on my mug,
Yes,
on
it's
my
on my
K
mug.
cups. Not
Yes, and you'll know them by their telling sign of the skull and crossbones that
It's
tells
so
you
good.
exactly what you're in for. It's that used to be the international symbol for poison, but now it is the symbol for good damn coffee.
It's awesome. Without milk, with milk, you don't really need it because it's strong.
But
It's
not bitter?
Not bitter. So you don't even need milk. You don't even need sugar, but you can add it if you'd like. It's just really, really the perfect, strongest, most awesome coffee.
Become a junkie of Death Wish. DeathWishCoffee.com. Thank you very much.
Enjoy it.
And be sure to get 10% off your order at www.deathwishcoffee.com when you use the code ThatMan. That's one word, conjunctified, all caps. ThatMan for 10% off your orders at deathwishcoffee.com. I want to take this time to mention to you www.audibletrial.com/ThatManOnFatman. That's right, www.audibletrial.com/ThatManOnFatman. That's one word, conjunctified. Go there, sign up for your free 30-day free trial. Sign up, get a free book, a free audio book, because you don't have to go through no tedious reading. You don't have to turn no fucking pages. You don't have to do any of that bullshit. You get in your car, you put on your headphones, and you are listening to a book. You're taking a magical journey into a fictitious land. You're expanding your mind, all when you're stuck in traffic. Fucking amazing. Audiobooks. These are the wave of the future. And you can get in for free for 30 days. A free trial. And when you get your free trial, you can download a copy of Tough Shit by our Savior, Kevin Smith. That's right. Our Lord and Savior, Kevin Smith, has left words for us to follow in our lives, and we can get it for free just by signing up to audibletrial.com/ThatManOnFatman. That's right. audibletrial.com/ThatManOnFatman. Thank you. Please sign up. You'll be very happy you did.
It's what I just said about the Punisher season. I think she's the most pliable because she doesn't really have that history that the fan would go into with expectations. So you can come into Jessica, even though she's a comic book character that's existed for over 10 years now, with fairly loose expectations. You're not bringing your own baggage into it, which is part of the reason, like Kevin pointed out, why we don't like The Last Jedi so much, me and Scott. We're bringing up Star Wars baggage into that movie. So when you watch these other shows like Iron Fist and Luke Cage and Daredevil and Punisher, you have baggage you may not even be aware of fandom that's following into the show.
Yeah.
And if your expectations, it's a failure. Where Jessica, she's almost like a brand new, untouched potential character. So anything they do with her is that much more exciting and new. Yeah. And I think those shows are stronger.
Well, that's true. Part of the reason I think I like Jessica Jones is I don't have that deep, rich background with the character, so it is all sort of new and different and like, oh, okay, that's cool. And wow, Purple Man was insane.
Yeah. Right. I mean, I think, the reason why I love the first season of Jessica Jones so much is because I know very clearly what it's about. It's about PTSD. It's about survivor's guilt. It's about being a survivor. And I think that Kilgrave is, along with Killmonger, I wonder what these two things have in common, are among the best of the sort of comic book villains we've seen on screen in the last 10 or 15 years.
Most definitely.
I mean, they're both great. They both have very clear wants and very clear desires and very clear methods through which they're going to get what they want. The thing that I'm not loving that much about Jessica Jones 2 is while I love Jessica and while I love especially Jerry's story is actually really kind of moving and sympathetic, I am not feeling the same level of antagonism in this one. I don't think that, spoiler alert, her mom is quite as magnetic and captivating a villain as Kilgrave was. And I get the you're setting off a bomb in your own house because it's the answers you've always wanted in your life and you're getting them in the worst possible way.
Yeah.
But there is just this.
What
I don't know. I'm not. I'm not going to say hollowness. I'm just going to say that I am not feeling that same thematic drive in season 2 the way I felt in season 1.
I agree in that, yeah. I mean,
I get that.
it's a definitely different driving force. But what I did like about it is every time I kind of thought I knew where it was going, it did flip something.
It took a
you know,
curve, yeah.
you know, and they did a lot of that sort of what Game of Thrones does kind of well. They introduce you to characters that you're like, fucking, I hate this person. And then by the end of the show or the end of the run, you're kind of like, you know, I'm sympathetic to this person, and this person I liked is really pissing me off. You know, you go through that kind of stuff. So, and then I give it kudos. Plus, you know, the second run at something is always tough. So I always give it a little, you know, leniency. So I thought Jessica Jones did great because they kept me guessing. So,
well, she's like style. No one could be her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's my feeling.
Yeah.
Quickly, if we go back to Punisher, episode 10 of Punisher, the one from like the reporter's perspective, that was genius. That may have been my favorite episode of a Marvel show ever. I loved how they pieced the story together, like from everyone's perspective. And like at the beginning of the episode, you're not really sure what's going on. And then by the end, you're like, oh, fuck. You know, there's like a big to-do going on in this room. And I also loved how the congressman's point of view was ridiculous compared to what really happened.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a congressman for it.
Yeah, and like, meanwhile, what really happened is he literally threw Karen into the bad guy.
That was the hotel room scene, yeah, where they all come from different angles. But I mean, John is just a really good actor in everything, and I'm kind of hating him right now because our schedule is a little tight because he got hurt. That has nothing to do with the show.
Oh,
and,
it doesn't? I wasn't sure if it had anything to do with the show or not.
The other day to get a set ready, I got to go in tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. The shooters are right behind our heels. But the funny thing about John getting hurt, he hurt his hand, is when I was on Daredevil, the actor playing hurt his hand. So I think I'm bringing that up to these shows.
Everybody's hurting their limbs.
Yeah.
Wait. There's season 3?
That's
Should
confirmed.
Should I cut that?
Cut that. Save my NDA. I really thought that was confirmed.
I'm just not sure if you're allowed to say, but I know that it's not been in season 1 or 2.
Yeah.
So
an actor hurt his hand in Daredevil. It shut down production for a week. Now John hurt his hand in season 2 of Punisher, and we're not shutting down. Instead, we worked all weekend last weekend, and we've been working very long days, and hard days.
And just coincidentally, another actor on another Netflix series also might have broken his hand.
Yeah.
We can either deny nor confirm.
Yeah.
Yeah, very strange coincidence.
By doing what? Like while you're there on set?
Stunt, yeah.
That's what I think. That's what I
Oh
would
my
figure
God.
would have happened with John. Yeah. So, but what do I know?
Yeah.
Who am I to say?
Yeah.
Right.
I'm just a lug in the cog in the
Definitely
machine.
not a stunt person.
Yes,
over
no,
here.
not at all.
I will be
And
the lug.
actually, on the last episode,
lazy
I
lug.
did reveal that I have been doing a little work for your union. So
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
He was
and
very
beyond
vague.
that, I will not say a word because I do not want, again, to violate any type of
Because
NDA or anything I've
It'll
signed.
be a very
No.
brief.
The NDA is basically plot points. You know,
Yeah.
like somebody getting hurt isn't not gonna spoil a show. It doesn't stop a show from coming out. It's just a crew bitch. You know, like they're pushing us harder, which is great. They took an insurance day from one day, and they changed the schedule. We're now shooting out of order. Instead of shooting episode 1 and 2, we're shooting episode 4.
Wow.
And you know, but it's you see the craziness that happens behind the scenes, which is what's exciting about these shows. Is I think we do such a good job. You don't see it on the screen. Like they're coming in to shoot tomorrow at like 8 o'clock in the morning, and I still don't have the sets ready. Right now, I'm a foreman of the stage, So that's kind of my responsibility and feeling a little bit of the pressure.
Well,
So you
thanks
need to
for
get
coming
there
on the
early.
show.
I know,
Yeah,
Michael.
what the hell are
need
you
to
doing
shit-
here?
Yeah.
I know. You need to get
Well,
shit
you know.
done.
Well, he is union. It's like they're not
That
going to
bet,
let
yeah.
him not, overwork.
I'm going to say that shit better look good.
Yeah, at 4 a.m. it's only a 40-minute drive to the stage, so it's not that bad.
I know it will look good. It always does.
Of
You
course.
do an amazing job.
No, we're like 90% there. It's not crazy. A couple hours and we're fine.
So, Mark, what would you give Jessica Jones on a either a star rating or an A to B or whatever rating you would feel comfortable giving?
Now, which one? The season one?
I'm season 1. I think for me was an A.
Okay.
Season 2, I'm not all the way done yet with, and knowing how Marvel likes to pull the taffy with their storytelling. And,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
They'll fuck you up in episode 13 if they want to.
Yeah. So right now, I if I had to give a letter grade to it, it's a B. For
Okay.
me,
Yeah.
but
See?
that's with
Yeah, so that's good.
that's reserving the what are they going to do next?
Yeah.
Modifier.
Yeah, I get that. So yeah, I
Yeah.
would give it a B plus, having seen the whole thing, and
I get a B.
And I think I'm a little more, and I would give the first season definitely an A plus, an A. Yeah, because again, Kilgrave stole that show, but I'm not sure if he's in episode 9. I know spoilers for you. He makes a reappearance.
Yeah.
Right. That much I heard about. I
Okay.
just don't know when.
And when he a little more. Did you ever play any of the Batman video games?
I played like Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, Arkham Knight. I
believe
think.
it's the last one where he's dead and he just kind of comes to you as a vision, Yeah, that's sort of.
I don't know if I got that far into it.
That's sort of the Kilgrave thing. Like he's just sort of like her, id or ego or super ego. He's just in there messing with her head.
Yeah, I mean, I expected it to be either flashback or, I'm seeing crazy things. Is that you?
Yes,
Yes,
it's number 2. It's the latter. But it's very
the
effective.
Hamlet of it all.
Yes, but it's effectively done. It's great. Like when he shows up, you're like, oh, good. This is getting really good now.
Well, again, the acting is phenomenal.
Yeah,
again.
yeah, exactly.
It's just crazy.
Because he's just fucking with her.
I know.
But he's not, too. He's also kind of like her biggest fan at the same time. It's very interesting.
Well, he presented himself that way in episode 1. Like, even though he's the villain, he's reprehensible.
Right.
He honestly thought it was, like, this is what he deserved. I don't think he was there to torture Jessica. He was just there to please himself.
He's a toddler.
Yeah.
He's very Trumpian in that respect.
Oh my God. Oh, don't say that. I just got.
I feel we mentioned this before, like pulling the taffy, which I think is a great phrase. But yeah, I think these 13 episode runs are a detriment to Marvel because the fast pace of Defenders only helped it. Okay. And that's what I'm hoping, when Iron Fist season 2 with a shorter season, that it's going to be tighter. And I know Mark's working on a show I really am looking forward to. Do you feel there's any pulling of the taffy in the Castle Rock world?
Yeah. Please, what can you share with us about Castle Rock? We're working on it.
Well, I mean, it's a 10 episode order, so it's not 13.
Okay. But that's sometimes better,
Yeah, I mean, not to say that you can't do a great 13 episode season. I mean, the first season of Battlestar was 13 episodes.
Oh yeah.
And that was great. But I think for us, it was a lot of like establishing like mood and tone and the sense of place, and that sort of thing requires a little bit of time. Like you can't quite shorthand that level of sort of investment and immersion in a location and in a world. But like when shit starts to go crazy, it's like roller coaster crazy.
Yeah.
Which is, not that in any way was I at the wheel of that particular ship, but were I at the wheel of that ship, that's how I like to steer.
So you wrote for it, correct?
Yes, I was a staff writer on the show.
So what is that like? What is a staff writer? What's a day in the life of a staff writer like?
Well, it's snacks punctuated by occasional writing of stuff.
That sounds like. Where do I sign up?
I know snacks are very important.
Just the snacks alone, I'm sold.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the timely delivery of food is how you make a writer's room go.
Yes.
I mean, like a standard day is like you get in the office at like 9:30 or 10, and there's a little bit of preamble chit chat, and then it's what is the task of the day? Early on in the season, the task of the day is like, okay, what's the world? What's the show? What's the overall arc of our season. Later in the run of the show, it becomes like, all right, so we've figured out where the season is going to go. Now let's start slicing things up into discrete chunks. And so what's this episode? What's that episode? Where's this character going to go? How's this character going to live and evolve? And then towards the tail end of the season, it's, you're breaking story. You're like, all right, we're doing episode 4. Here's, the top of Act 3, and let's break out the 9 or 10 scenes that are going to be in Act 3, and then move on to Act 4. And by the end of, a week and a half of work, you've got a whiteboard or 2 just filled with story, with everything that happens, every scene, every location, every character move, every story move. And then the writer of that episode will take all that information and generate an outline that gets approved by the network and the studio, and then he goes off and writes.
Wow.
So there is...
It's a process.
It's a whole process.
Yeah, it's all embedded.
It's a whole process.
Yeah.
You guys continue to write even when we're shooting, because I know we'll get blue pages, pink pages. So, are you individual written any of the shows and had to come to set and keep writing up to like Goldenrod or what say you?
For us, we tried our best to have everything written before we started production, but that is the best laid plan that often goes awry.
I know.
And 9 times out of 10, those kind of like once you're onto like double pinks and double goldenrods, those are changes that are being made by the showrunners for production reasons, for like further on down the line story reasons, for just like producibility reasons. Like,
now,
actually, you lost.
Just real quickly for listeners out there, goldenrod and pinks and blues are colors of paper that are associated with, I guess, versions
Correct.
of
Like
scripts.
every draft of the script gets a different color.
Okay.
And there is a very deep taxonomy of like, you get to salmons, you get to lavenders, you get to whatever.
See, I didn't know that. That's really
And you can tell like how much work a script has been done by how many different colors of the rainbow are in there.
Holy shit, this is black. This is on black paper. How am I supposed to even read this?
It's the none more black draft. And then when you start running out of colors, you start recycling colors. And then it becomes, we're in double pinks because we've gone around the horn back into pink again.
That's why you're like triple goldenrod. I got you.
And I've been a crew member for 10 years, and I've gotten these pages filtered down, but I always assume because when we shoot an episode, oftentimes the writer will have a chair out, and the writer will actually be on set. I always thought this was just falling all on the writer's lap. Like the day of, that he'd get a call and be like, we need to change things, and they'd just be sitting there changing it day to day. Because it seemed like it was daily. There'd be something new.
Well, usually probably the director's like, this would work a lot better if we figured this out.
Right. I mean, there's in a perfect world, there's always a writer on set who, because your showrunners have 98 other things to do, the writer who's covering the set, his job is to sit there and be like, I know what the story is. I know what the themes are. I know what we need to get out of every scene to make the entire story work. Whereas the director and the actors are more concerned a lot of the times with what makes the scene work. So the writer's job is to be like, okay, that'll work great, but in scene 23, we have to connect these dots, and I don't think we have the material we need to connect those dots.
Yeah.
Or I think we're straying a little far from what the thrust of this was supposed to be.
I'm thinking back to the infamous, Kevin tells a story of being on the set of Die Hard. And there needed to be something about what was his character's name? The Warlock had to explain all the stuff about the bad guy. And at one point, Kevin's just like, "Get me a laptop. I think we can do this."
But yeah, so sometimes the writer who's covering set is helping to tweak dialogue with the actors and with the director. Sometimes that ends up being put into a draft. Sometimes that's just done on the fly. But I think, unless that writer who's covering set is also the executive producer or also like a higher up producer, most of those changes during production are coming from the home office.
Gotcha. So again, more process. The home office. The home office.
After a decade of business, you start something new, which is great. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and so it's funny, like the job, especially, the level that I came in on Castle Rock, which was a fairly low level. The job of a staff writer in a TV show is 90% of the time not writing. It is more often than not just being present in the conversation about the story.
Yeah.
It is talking. Like the job is just generating ideas and generating, concepts and themes and characters and pitches for stuff. Like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if this guy did this? Hey, all right, we need a heist here. What are we going to steal? All right, here are 9 things he could steal. What do you think? It's
Wow.
It's not like literally sitting down and grinding at a laptop and generating words until it's your script, and then you go off and you have 2 weeks to write a script, and then you come back and here you go, everybody.
Gotcha.
Tear it apart.
Okay,
put it back
so
together.
that was kind of like we had a writer of the Daily Show on, and that was like one of the shocks to me was to find out that their work is very solitary. It's not. I always pictured like Larry Sanders. They're in a writer's room. They're they're throwing jokes, but he said no. Like their process is the writers are very internal. It's it's watching TV. It's getting your jokes and then sort of sending them up the chain.
Yeah, I mean, lots of shows run lots of different ways. Like, I'm not familiar entirely with the way like comedy variety shows work.
Yeah.
But as far as even drama, like the Supernatural room, they've got 10 or 15 writers in there, but they all work by themselves. They're all like, I am on my own. If I pitch an episode, and I will work with the showrunner, and we will, sort of refine this together. But the other 11 people here are all off doing their own thing.
I could never work that way. I would rather be in one of those rooms where they're just throwing jokes out.
I gotta find the guy that came up with the Scooby-Doo episode and shake his hand. That seems like a genius idea. Just because Mark, I'm so looking forward to that. It's ridiculous.
Hey, have you guys all seen the trailer for that Japanese animated Batman movie?
The Samurai.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Batman Ninja.
Yeah. Doesn't that look incredible?
It looks bananas. In only the way that anime can look bananas.
Yeah, but it feels like somebody is like really, finally, someone's really taking chances and doing something cool with Batman.
I have no idea if it's going to work because anime for me can be a little hit or miss.
Yeah, I agree. I'm the same way.
This is beautiful. Doesn't make a lick of sense, but kind of not supposed to. Or like I love Akira. Akira doesn't make any sense at all. Yeah. It's just kind of like strung together by like beautiful visuals and crazy mood and occasional ultra violence. But I love it so. It's not a narrative feature.
Yeah, you and Kevin were actually talking about Akira recently.
Yeah,
and how like
I don't even remember what the context was. But.
Yeah, I'm kind of with him, and I've seen that movie a lot. And like back, I was a '90s kid, so yeah, I get it. It was at Angelica and all that stuff. But like, I was always, I felt like I'd always walked in halfway to a story, and I was just trying to figure it out. I never really could piece it all together.
Scott, it's all about the bike. That's all you gotta know.
Yes.
Yeah, it's all about the bike.
just like Trump.
All right, let's talk a little bit about 2 what I would consider major like flops. Just because they're fun to talk about. First of all, I want to relate a story the other day. We were Gene and I were watching Justice League on our big screen.
Yes.
And we're just hanging out and watching it. And probably 15, 20 minutes, maybe even 30 minutes in, I turned to Gene and I said, I'm watching it. This must be the 3rd time I'm watching this movie. And I don't remember any of this.
No, because
this movie is so forgettable. But I saw it in a theater. You know what I mean? So, and what's so funny is like maybe 10 minutes later, our daughter walked in and she goes, "Oh, what are you watching?" And we said, "Justice League." And she starts watching and she goes, "Did I see this?" And we said, "Yeah, you were in the theater with us." Which it just that movie is so forgettable on every level. I've seen it so many, and I still don't know what's happening.
But thank God for
Gal Gadot is the saving grace of the whole thing.
Yeah, Wonder Woman steals the whole movie.
Yeah,
if it wasn't for her
being
the grown up in the movie to babysit all the babies.
Yeah, what was that, Michael?
Would be no movie.
I said they should make her the RDJ. If Warner Brothers is smart, they make her the face of their franchise and try to I know they were hoping it was going to be Ben Affleck's Batman or Cavill's Superman, but she's got charm and grace.
It's hard to be the face of a franchise when they're CGIing a beard off your face.
Oh, my God. That was horrible.
Which is my favorite thing.
You know what's funny about that? I hadn't heard about it up front. So that whole first scene, which I have no clue why they had to put it in.
Why did they
that
keep
stupid,
that in?
weird phone shot, like it's a kid's phone. The kids sound like fake kids, first off. And his suit never looked like so much styrofoam crap. But the whole time I'm looking at his face going, did he age? What? I had no idea what was going on.
And that scene wasn't so phenomenal that they needed to keep it
No,
in.
they could
I
have
don't know why they didn't
trimmed that
chop
right the fuck. I guess they spent all that money on CGI in his face. They're like, this is going in the movie.
We spent all this time. It's going in.
It is my favorite example of Hollywood pettiness.
Yeah.
Because that's all that is. It is entirely because Paramount was like, you know what? No. Like, yeah, we could put a fake mustache on him. That costs us like $60 and half an hour in a makeup chair. But no, you have to spend millions of dollars CGing out a mustache.
Yeah, I will also say that the true bad guy in that movie is the uncanny valley that you spend the whole time looking at fucking what's his name, Steppenwolf, going, what is that? He doesn't look real.
Yeah, the fucking every character they had a fight throughout the whole movie.
Now, he did really resemble Snoke, though, because as soon as I saw Snoke in the movie, I was like, when did fucking Steppenwolf get here?
Yeah.
It's interesting to me as I get older that, Toys R Us is going away, so I guess I can't be a kid anymore because I have to grow up.
True.
But
so
these movies aren't helping me, and that's why I say thank God for Marvel, because it's hard to keep that enthusiasm and love and this excitement. I'm just getting jaded by it all. Like Justice League was terrible, and I know Mark said he liked The Last Jedi, but it kind of made me take a step back from my emotional attachment to Star Wars a little bit, not because of the characters of Rey, who I loved, or Poe and Finn, who I was all on board after Force Awakens. I'm on record on.
Me too.
But just the in your face of like, this isn't yours anymore, to the fans that grew up with it, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be. I still have an emotional connection to my childhood, and Marvel seems to be the only movie-wise. Marvel seems to be the only thing that's doing it.
I agree, but here's the thing: like we were talking a little bit about this, off mic the other day. But you nailed it, and I agree wholeheartedly. It feels like they've given the Star Wars franchise over to whoever comes along next. And like, hello, have you Disney owns both Marvel and Star Wars now. Why don't they take the Kevin Feige book, or method and apply it to Star Wars? How are these trilogies not better planned? Why did you let the second guy do whatever the fuck he wanted after the first guy started building your legacy? Why didn't you let someone be in charge of that legacy?
Well, I think, if it's me, and I like The Last Jedi, I understand why some people don't. I absolutely empathize there. But I've always felt, and by always, I mean for the last 10 years or so, that Star Wars is a nostalgia-powered franchise. It only really works when you're looking back on it. It only really works when you are, oh shit, these are the things I love, and they're on screen again. And oh my God, is that Han Solo? And holy shit, is that fucking the Millennium Falcon? Thank goodness. Oh hey, here are the prequels, but here's little pops of shit that I knew was gonna come. There is no sense of forward progression at all with these movies. They are very much chiming with the chord that was struck when we were 8 or 9 or 10 years old. And there's a power in that. There's absolutely a power in that. But that is not a sustainable thing. And I feel like somebody at some point was going to have to pull the Band-Aid off of our, G.I. Joe fucking wound that we'd had of saying, we have to go forward. And how do we go forward? It's a little clumsily put in the movie, but burn it all down. And it hurts, and it always hurts.
Here was my problem with it, and it was my fundamental problem with it. It was all the ambivalence. Now, that you got that out of it was great, but my feeling was there was so much absolute ambivalence in it that, I never... Okay, the first part of the movie, or actually, no, the first 2/3 of the movie, Luke is telling you how much he fucking hates the Jedi and wish they would die and go away. But then, all of a sudden, it's the fucking classic 5-minute quick turn, almost like, a la his dad,
Yes, master. But now he's like, fucking Jedi rule, bitches, and we're going to live forever. It was this weird, like, he spent the first half of the movie running them down, and then this weird switch. Jedi forever. And then, like, that was one of the things that kind of bugged me. I'm like, what's the message here? Also, the other thing that was very ambivalent was, okay, so first he's going to kill his mom, but he doesn't take the shot. But it doesn't matter because the guy right next to him does. Therefore, killing his mom. But that doesn't matter either because now she's floating like an angel to space, a power that no one else has ever exhibited in the universe. But I'm even fine with that, except for to what end? The purpose of even Leia living there didn't seem like much, just that they wanted to get a Luke and Leia moment later in the movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean there's some things that I still don't understand what the hell the whole casino thing was all about.
Yeah,
I don't get Space Angel Leia at all.
Also,
I think that
I'm sorry, but I never understand. Like, they sort of introduced this woman right at the beginning. We've never met her. We have no emotional investment in this woman. What the fuck do I care that she died bombing another planet? No offense, but it's just it's a weird opener, even if you're going to make her sister later in the movie, who doesn't really do much anyway, who's the Jar Jar Binks of the thing. But, okay.
I don't want to harp.
I'm Marc Bernardin.
Do you feel better now? Did you get all that off your chest?
I do. Well, I just recently tried. I really wanted to like this fucking movie. That's the problem. And I watched it again yesterday. That's why too.
Yeah. Scott, it's funny when you mentioned. I just want to say one thing. I don't want to take away from Mark because he's really intelligent, and I've been trying to stay quiet. I want to say one
and
more
I'm
thing
an idiot.
I want to say one more thing about Star Wars. It's what you said. Disney has Marvel and Disney has Star Wars. And this is just a thought that came in when you said that. Disney has the kids locked up. They got their princesses. They got Cars. They got Toy Story. They got Marvel. They got the teen boys locked up. What don't they have in lock? Teen girls? And do teen girls like fantasy stuff like Harry Potter more than they like superhero stuff like Hunger Games, like these other teen romance, teen young adult books? Maybe they're trying to switch Star Wars to be more teen girlish so they can get that money lined up too. I don't know.
Well, I do know that
theory.
We're friends with a woman who's a sex worker and does sex worker podcast. And I remember she had a guest on her show who said that after, what was it, JJ's Star Wars, there was a porn star on who said she started having force, those, like being force dominated, like fantasies in her life. Like, so that became like a masturbatory thing for her.
That's a turn I wasn't expecting, but that's so.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they unleashed a new brand of kink, apparently.
Well, they did that with Return of the Jedi, but that's okay.
And they did play the push-pull of the second I always say the second movie, but I'm talking about Empire Strikes Back. Like, they do the push-pull, but instead of is he my father, it was, are we going to date? Are we going to be boyfriend girlfriend? Didn't you feel that?
Oh, with Han and Leia?
No, with
yeah, it's Ryan. I think admitted it. Ryan Johnson admitted it at SX, the film festival, that the closest thing he can get to a Star Wars sex scene is them touching fingers.
Well,
yeah, or incest. I mean, incest is always on the table.
Yeah. Of course.
My true
Star Wars.
My true feeling is, having seen the two movies and just actually again watched them back to back just yesterday. What I see is this would be the perfect, like what we're seeing is episode 1, 2, and 3 again, the fall of Kylo Ren. I think that by the next movie, he should be a fucking badass Darth Vader ready to just go out and destroy. And probably have a mask on, too.
Yeah.
Masks sell toys. Masks sell toys. My 6-year-old son likes Kylo Ren. He doesn't like Adam Driver.
But you know how it became such a thing where he had to destroy his mask if, like, something happens to his face so that he's permanently stuck in a mask. That would be one of those crosses he has to bear.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's I don't know where JJ's head is. I mean, it's clear that Ryan's head was in a, I don't like any of this shit you did, JJ, and so I'm going to systematically erase all of it. Which his prerogative.
See,
they're like, hey, you know what?
But they're in
how did Snoke doesn't make any sense? Don't give a shit.
How did Carolyn Kennedy go? Yeah, let me undo everything that my last guy just did. It seems like they fire anybody who takes even a chance with this property. There's a conversation there that happened that we will never be privy to. But boy, we'd love to hear it.
Boy, we'd love to hear it. But it is not in any way that I think that like Kathleen Kennedy has lost control of the Star Wars franchise. She's produced giant fucking movies for 40 years and knows exactly what she's doing. Yeah. Maybe she didn't like what JJ did either. I don't know.
See, I really like, as a Star Wars fan, that movie gave me everything I wanted and expected. It gave me a rebooted Star Wars. I mean, let's face it, it's a mythology, so you're going to have those mythology tropes. That's a good thing. And they figured out how to reboot it, make it feel like the old one, but still give it a whole new feeling. I don't know. I really enjoyed JJ's. And then like you just said, you nailed it. Then it felt like another guy came in and like all of the mysteries, all of the things that I wanted, where did Snoke come from? Oh, it doesn't matter because he's dead by Act 2 or whatever.
Well, here's the thing about JJ, and I will rarely speak ill of the dude who runs the company that pays my checks. But JJ is amazing at beginnings. JJ is amazing at like setting these little nested story bombs that at some point will go off and establishing like, here's this thing that's a mystery. I mean, you look at Lost. Lost is the ultimate version of that, which is I'm going to set 98 plates of spinning and then I'm going to go off and do Mission Impossible 3. It feels as if like, all right, because JJ I don't think was planning on coming back to do any more Star Wars. So I'm going to start this off with a bunch of things. There's a bunch of things you can go a bunch of different ways with. Who are Rey's parents? Who's Snoke? What's he got to do with it? What's all this stuff? And then go away. Yeah. And then Ryan was like, I don't know what the answers to these things are. And frankly, I'm not that curious about the questions. So I'm going to wipe them off the board and give you new stuff.
See, the thing that was missing, and not that, like, I know everybody likes to shit on Lucas, but was Lucas. Because Lucas was the showrunner. Lucas was the guy who knew what was going on at the bigger level. And when they jumped into this, it seems like no one realized they didn't have a Lucas. You know what I mean? They don't have someone.
I also think they realized that they had a Lucas and didn't want that Lucas anymore. We saw these 3 movies and Lucas isn't Lucas anymore. Lucas is like the Chris Carter coming back for X-Files.
But like you said, there is something.
Maybe not.
There is.
I haven't seen the new season. Is it no good?
I mean, it starts out incredibly poorly and gets a little bit better, but I don't think for a second that wouldn't be better with somebody else doing it.
Wow. Because when they did the season last year, that were-lizard episode I loved. That felt the most X-Files. Yeah.
Yeah, there was the one that they got like Glenn Morgan to come back and write. It's like, oh, that's kind of rad. Okay, that feels like old X-Files. And everything else was, oh, God, what is this?
Yeah.
It is kind of funny that you brought up that JJ is a writer of great beginnings, because there is another writer who I've always found is a great beginner and more times than not a horrible ender, and that's Stephen King.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. We would wrestle in the room with, what ultimately, because we have to distill Stephen King down to his component parts and then we assemble some kind of King bot.
Yeah.
And figuring out what makes Stephen King tick. And it's like, he's really not, he never cares about it. He's not a mystery writer at all. Does not care about hiding the ball. It's, what is it? Oh, it's fucking Cujo. What's Cujo? It's in the title. It's a demon dog. What about this thing? Haunted car. How about that? Evil hotel. What about this? Haunted fan. Whatever it is, you know what it is, like 2 chapters into that book.
Yeah, he cares about relationships. He cares about, how that affects the character,
He is a character writer first and foremost, and just wants to put real people in fucked up places and situations.
Which is why I believe his JFK book is his best, because first, it's told from first-person perspective, so it's easy to convince people of tall tale or just, outlandish things like time travel, when it's told from the character's perspective. Also, apparently his son helped him, which is probably why it has the greatest ending of all his books. And he even says that. It says, my son helped me with the ending. And if you know, like, they dance at the end, and it's amazing. It's his. Like, I remember crying when I was going through it. So
it sounded like the process that Mark was talking about for Castle Rock. It is a Stephen King process. I remember reading Needful Things, which isn't maybe one of his greatest books, but it's a lot of setup, a lot of getting to know the characters, building up this world before he releases all the shit that happens when people start fighting it, and like you talk about, it's a lot of character build with Stephen before action happens.
And you also have to consider that before the late 90s, many of his works were written while he was fucking drunk as a skunk.
Or high as a kite.
Yeah, he wrote Cujo in a blackout.
But to ask Mark, did you look at his writing style and try to mimic that for the show with a lot of setup, or was it just the nature of the project?
It was just more the nature of the project. It was more like trying to, like let's deliver the lost Stephen King book as opposed to a cover of a Stephen King song. You know what I mean? So it wasn't so much as trying to mimic his style, but just understand the way he tells stories and understand, where his pressure points are and how to evoke him without duplicating him.
Did you give Cat's Eye a view?
What's up?
Did you give Cat's Eye a view?
I did.
You did. Wow.
I watched Thinner. I watched as much as I can get my hands on.
That's one of those more obscure ones too. Cat's Eye.
Yeah, I love it because it opens like, hey, there's the cat and he's running past, the Christine and hey,
yes. I was going to ask, is your show intro going to be anything like that? Because I could see that working for you guys.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
There'll be a little bit of that.
Cat people having sex with each other.
Fingers crossed.
Sleepwalkers. I think it was his only non-book, right? Right to film movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
Oh. I wonder if, what's his name will be there, Mr. Randall Flagg, which is where Kevin got Randall.
It has to be Randall Flagg. It has to be.
Yes.
This is Darth Vader.
Yes, exactly.
The Crimson King.
Again, bringing it back to Kevin.
Bring it back to Kevin. That is where Kevin got the name Randall
Kevin
for
Smith
Randall.
Podcast, No, I'm just kidding.
For Dante, Randall's Dante. Dante's Randall.
What is it like sitting next to the Fat Man at the Scum and Villainy every week?
That's right.
What is that like?
It is there's no sitting really.
Well,
so
standing. I'm sorry, he does stand.
Standing.
You are standers, which is
he does
good.
Stand. I know if I had a step counter, it would absolutely count more steps because I'm on my feet for 2 hours straight. It's super fun, like it has gotten far more comfortable than it was when it started because I did not expect to go into this as like a performer in front of live people who expect entertainment.
You're doing a show, yes.
And we've been on the journey with you, and we've seen it too, and we're loving it.
Yeah, we've been enjoying it.
Yeah. No, it's so much fun. It's so much fun. And the last 3 weeks of doing shows have been super warm and super kind because it's the Not Dead Yet tour, and and so just all of the love that's flowing out for him is just it's kind of wonderful.
Yes, of course.
Well, and we're glad that you're not dead yet either because you had a little.
Little thing.
I dug your Black Panther show.
I love that. That was so great.
Thank you. It was fun. It was fun. And it's weird because so much of, working with Kevin is like, here's a general outline of things we're going to do, and then we'll make it up as we go. And then realizing that you've got Kevin to lean on because Kevin's superpower is being able to talk at length and make it interesting about almost anything.
Yeah.
To not have, Batman next to you and you're like, all right, so I guess I'm Robin for this one by myself. And Batman is off with the Justice League fighting something in outer space, and oh shit, I got to do this me. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, and the round table was great because they all gave us great stuff, and it was just it was super great, and it's super great to be able to do that for that kind of movie.
Yeah, dude, I love the fact that you sort of, I mean, you bring diversity to a crowd that probably doesn't think about it at first glance.
Yeah.
I'm not, we all have our head up our ass. You know what I mean?
Right. And it's not intentional.
Yeah, nerds too. And so, yeah, I love the fact that you're like, I hate to say it, unapologetically black. And like, it's sometimes it shakes nerds out of their comfort zone for a minute, you know?
Mark's black? I can't be part of this government.
Michael's out.
Yeah, it became clear probably about, 6 months after Kevin put the first cameras up there. And it's like, oh, I didn't know this, and they didn't know this, but for a decent chunk of people, I am their one black friend.
Oh.
So, and
but how lucky are
that's
they?
fine. And how lucky are they? And that's totally fine. And totally fine to start like having those conversations. And most of the audience that has come to Fatman is totally open to it, and they totally are like curious and welcoming and ready to engage with real honesty and forthrightness about, things that they've never thought about before.
Shit, you talked about the nod.
You talked about the nod.
Yeah.
And
World, I remember that episode. Yeah. Black Panthers.
Yes.
And it's really kind of it's a wonderful little sub slice to the joy that is Fatman for me. It's just getting to have real conversations about real things with real people. And, most people are totally happy to have that conversation. Some don't want to have it. Some, continue to say, why you always got to talk? Why is everything got to be about race with you? It's like, well, not everything is. But, in the America we live in, it turns out that if you scratch deep enough, and not always that deep, most things are. Or at least there is some angle, level, substrata of life that we live where race plays a role in it. And if we can't actually have an open conversation about that,
right,
then that's on you, not on me.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, like I said, we've been there from the beginning, and the joy that you feel, like we feel it and see it. So I just every time I watch it on YouTube, it's just the best.
The other joy has been the fact that you guys started back with the commentary tracks.
Yes, I love all of that.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how regular that is.
Yeah.
Given that it has at this point been every 2 years we do one.
Yeah, it's been harder since you guys have been busy. Can I just again float this out there, because I know it was supposed to be a three-way it was supposed to be you, Andy, and Kevin to do Dune. So as a diehard Dune guy, I cannot wait. So just keep that in the hopper somewhere.
That's a heavy duty.
Don't disappoint.
That's a heavy duty three-way right
It's
there.
heavy lifting, I get it, but
the bee is in the proverbial bonnet. So
yeah, I know that you guys all want to do it, and it's a matter of finding time, but it also helps to poke every now and then.
Yeah, time is probably the number one.
It is, because it's like, okay, so we got to watch the movie and then maybe watch it again and take notes, and then find the 2 hours out of the day to sit down and watch it through. So it is a commitment, but it's one that I think we're willing to have on a very long-term basis.
Oh, I like that.
Sporadically.
Yeah, sporadically.
But I love those. I'm the nut who lines up the frickin' video, and it always used to frustrate me when you split a commentary in two, so much so that I would edit the two together so I could watch the movie clean. I'm that nut. So
does that mean like everyone who does it is a nut? Because that's what you're supposed to do.
Well, no, because you could do the whole pause and then
that's true. Yeah,
sit through episode 2 and blah, blah,
that's true.
All that stuff. But. Well, guys, I'm sure we've been about an hour or so, and I really appreciate you both coming on and doing this. And audio problems and all.
It sounded great.
It's just hard to know when your turn is.
Yes, that is the tough. It's the rhythm. But I appreciate you both coming on. Let me tell. What can you both promote before we part ways here?
Yes, Michael.
Yeah, let Michael go.
Yeah, because Mark's the bigger fish, so you got to save the best for last.
Yes,
right?
So, the closer.
Basically, what's going on with me is, I'm still heavily involved in your movie. What's a podcast?
Yes.
Which we're going to get really the edit really underway.
Yes.
Got conversation this weekend about it.
We're about to have a principals meeting, is what we're about to have, and sort of regroup and get that out of the way.
Everybody should be looking out for that. I am working currently on Punisher Season 2. I worked on Daredevil Season 3. Everybody please support those shows. Support filmmaking in New York. I know Mark's an LA guy, but there's a lot of jobs. Not LA isn't the only film hub. We have many productions in New York, and New York filmmaking is, I think, the top.
I heard like 35 new shows got signed in the New York area recently.
And I just want to say that it's a pleasure having Mark on the show. I hope to have his job, be with him on his job one day, not take his job, because even my end goal, I made my way into the movie world at 30. I had a different career before that. My love is telling stories, and I just like being a part of that process, even as just a crew member. But my ultimate goal is to be that guy in the room with the ideas, and if there's any advice Mark can give or ways to go, I'll take it at any given times. But that's my ultimate goal, and I know I'll get there. But that's just it. Enjoy each other, love each other, listen to Scott's podcast, and watch Castle Rock when the show comes out.
You're such good people, Michael.
Michael's the best. Now,
I don't even need to plug anything now.
Is there any advice that you can offer to Michael, or to?
I mean, it's I too. This was my second career, not my first. And
Me too.
It is a long con at best.
Oh yeah.
But the key to it for me, I think the key to it for most people, if you're not Steven Spielberg Jr., is to make stuff. Is to like, if you're a writer, then write. If you're a producer, then produce. But the more stuff you can make and put out in the world, the more ammunition you have to bear when you've got to convince somebody to roll the dice on you. So, no, listen, I can do it. I've done it. Here it is. Be that a producer, be that an agent, be that a star, be that whomever. Being able to show them stuff that you've done, stuff that you've had produced, whether you've done it on a shoestring or on some other kind of string. But yeah, just make it.
Right.
Make it. Making it is better than wanting to make it.
Right.
I can wholeheartedly speak to Kevin's philosophy of start a podcast. If you can't think of anything else to do, start a podcast, because I'm one of those guys.
Yeah.
And as a result of doing the podcast and being dedicated and having a passion for it, I've met other people who also had passion for the entertainment business and all that kind of stuff. And as a result, I mean, I am far from a successful entertainer, but, I am in a place that's so much happier in my life and interacting with people I really like today. And my life, my cup overflows.
Right. And that's the thing. Like, most people can talk. So a podcast is kind of like, why not try it? Now,
What's my excuse?
I have no idea. I'm still trying to figure that out.
Well, thank you guys so much for being on the show.
We didn't get Mark to plug.
Oh,
Mark
yeah.
needs to plug his stuff.
Well, he was like, I already plugged it.
I mean, Michael did such a great job.
But you must have some live shows coming up for that. For Fatman on Batman, I have to think about it.
Yeah, we've got, let me see, what the hell is today? Today's like the 21st, is it? I think we've got another one next Tuesday, the 27th. And I think we've got another one on April 3rd, and then we're still wrestling down what the dates are going to be in April. And then we're going to the Northern Fan Con in Prince George, British Columbia in early May.
That sounds fun.
I think it's May 12th.
And Kevin couldn't even fly there for a little bit, too, if I recall.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's so much that he couldn't fly, just that nobody wanted him to fly. Because if you're trying to keep your life calm and stress-free, air travel is not the way to do that.
Gotcha. So that's cool. I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was like you went up to 10,000 feet and your heart explodes. Who knows?
And you can check out smodcast.com and check out the tickets and all that.
That's actually true.
Absolutely. Yes. Smod.com will give you all of the information.
And what's the YouTube channel?
YouTube.com/Kevin Smith.
Isn't it funny? You have to go, wait, I'm not on stage. The lights are I don't know.
The context is weird.
I don't know my line.
I feel weird. But you do a great job.
Been there, done that. Thank you, sir. Thank you both, man.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks, Michael.
All right, guys.
Pleasure talking.
Take it easy.
Thank you so much.
Take it easy, Mark.
Thanks.
And there you have an awesome segment with Michael Joseph Consolmagno and Marc Bernardin from ThatMan on Batman, co-hosted with Kevin Smith. Yes. And so there you have it. There they are. I was looking forward to that show for a while.
Me too.
I'm glad when we pull stuff off. I'm sorry, your mic wasn't up.
I'm sorry. He's always very, I I don't know. He's like appreciative to come on because he loves to chat and he's just a good guy.
Yes, I enjoyed
Yeah.
the diversity discussion
Right.
a lot. So, and I hope you guys enjoyed that. It's a little bit of inside. Sorry about some of the Skype issues, but again, it was first time I was ever doing 2 guests, so it was a little cluttery.
Yeah.
A little crazy.
I think it went well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All things considered.
Right.
So,
2 likable guys, likable hosts.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong.
So we're re-recording this segment. What the hell did we go over last time? Because when I looked down, I realized the file had 0 seconds on it. So something went wrong.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So what did we talk about before we blew out of here last time?
Well, we talked a little bit about, we're trying to get some Kevin stuff because Danny's on. The Shooting Clerks guys are down in, they were first in Anaheim at WonderCon.
Anaheim, California at WonderCon.
WonderCon. And that.
Well, Marc Bernardin was there too.
Marc Bernardin was there. And hopefully he saw Shooting Clerks, and because I know they were having a screening there. And then during their stay, at some point during that day, maybe they were invited, or was it the next day? Was it the next day?
It was Saturday night.
That was Saturday. Okay, so
but it's like a 3-day con.
Yeah, so they saw Hollywood Babylon that Saturday night as well. So the guys got they went to LA and saw that.
Cool. I guess we'll get to hear him on the next LA. Next Hollywood Babylon that drops.
Yes, so that was a little bit of the Smedline.
With none other than co-host. Where is he? Shit. I'm never queued up what I want to be.
Ooh,
That's right.
You are listening
That's
to
Ralph Garman.
ThatMan.
That was the wrong poll. But anyway, there you go. That's the co-host of Hollywood Babylon, Ralph Garman. Also known as Frank Garman.
What was that thing you showed me?
I don't know, but it wasn't even Frank. Like someone put a misbill.
It was
of Hollywood Babylon. They put
it was
like
Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan.
Because it begins with an R.
Oh my God, that's so
and
bad.
And it's not even 4 letters.
Poor Frank.
It's 5 letters.
Poor Frank Garman. Poor Ralph Garman.
At least Frank is 5 letters, and Ralph is 5 letters.
Yes, everyone was like,
"Oh my God, I can't believe they did that. That's horrible." Anyway,
congratulations to those guys who went down to WonderCon, by the way.
Yes, I'm so happy for you guys.
Anytime Shooting Clerks gets good vibes, I'm a happy guy. I love that project, and I'm very happy.
Howard Stern in the hizzy.
Yes.
That was fun.
Yes.
And, well, you know what? I want to go to a Babylon at some point in LA, so that is something I aspire to do as well.
Yes, me too.
Yeah. What else can we talk about? I'm trying to think.
I'm trying to remember what we went over.
I think we did go over a couple of things.
There was something else going on with Kevin.
We were talking about we're going to see him in April.
That's right.
And now the thing is, Kevin is now different. He's lost 20 pounds.
Yeah, well, we launched into a little of the vegan stuff, and I got a little vegan crazy.
Well, now what I was thinking about was, do you think it'll be like the same sort of thing with the sugar? Remember when he was cutting out sugar and he was like flat?
Of course it will be.
He was like indifferent almost.
No. I think, I don't know. No, because I think part of his problem the whole time has been, because it's funny. I went back and listened to Babylon from like a week before the heart attack.
Yeah.
And he talks about being run down and tired and like not feeling himself.
Okay.
And I think a lot of his listlessness probably came from the fact that his fucking blockage was causing.
You know what I noticed too? He's less like.
Yeah, he's more.
Like it was like.
He's more up.
Yes.
More like he was like 5 years ago. So.
Just like what happens when they clear out your artery and the blood's flowing.
And he's already talked about like
really
he's going to approach it from a non-vegan religious sort of approach. He's just going to approach it from just being himself. You know, just being, I'm not eating animal products. I don't need to call myself a vegan kind of shit. But we'll see how long that lasts.
Right. Well, and you know what? What he was saying, I totally understand. For how long have we been eating shit? Now, I like to say I'm an okay eater. I've gotten better, but I've never been one to love the healthy snacks.
And we still try to avoid the sugar, or we at least pay a lot of attention to the sugar that goes in our body. So, unlike in the past.
Right. So.
And we'll still do that because it worked, and it's definitely something that works.
Yeah, it does. I feel you feel better.
I don't know that I'm necessarily jumping on the vegan train because, as we've talked about, like, you know, that's not necessarily our bag. You know?
Yeah, I'm all about the cheese, folks. All about the cheese.
Oh yeah, I love a lot of dairy.
I like bacon every now and then,
Yeah.
but it's weird. Like I've said, I'm almost vegetarian in many respects. Like I eat so little animal products in my diet.
Right.
I have a little, like cream in my coffee is a must. I don't give a
Right.
shit. So
I hear music.
Yeah, I know.
It's really pretty though. It's like, ooh.
I'm trying to figure. Oh, I know where it's
It's from
coming
the
from.
movie.
It's coming from there.
It's
Yeah,
the
it's
theatrical,
kind of
the LLB.
It was coming in from a channel. There's a channel on the board that was
JR
open.
told
I was
me.
like looking around. I thought maybe speakers were up or no. But
Yeah. Well, we stand behind Kevin in his new diet journey.
Yes.
Now, and I will say, what has happened to Kevin has helped me incorporate new things into my life. I'm going to the gym. I'm going today again. I am eating better. I'm drinking more water.
Yes.
My thing with water is, and I remember when I did it before.
And as soon as I get my insurance squared away, I'm going to the doctor. It's probably a good time to wrap this hizzy out of here because it was a nice long interview segment. So, anything else you need to add to this?
No, I think we're all done.
Okay. Well, then, without any further ado, we will tell you that if no one else has told you this week, we would like to say you're both smart and good. And until next week, where we have Mr. Porkchop Murphy in the house, enjoy your week, and we see you again soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody. Even Miss Cup says goodbye.
Staring out in space, looking for an angel smile and praying for some faith. Thoughts are drifting through my mind and filling it with fear. Is there something else out there, and just why are we here? Then I see the world will turn and we must be its guide. Dreams and nonsense schemes, dawn comes and must reply. Powers from our mother earth, they'll blow us to our knees. While our souls do bind as one, come join us if you please, if you please. Reading moments one by one and smirking like a thief. Sleeping through another night and deepening our peace. Genesis and matter's wake is coming from our sun. Living in this very moment, for this moment's done. But now I see the dawn will come and we are all its guide. Crazy dreams and nonsense schemes, the Godhead in the skies. Powers from our mother earth is all we'll ever be. While our souls do bind as one, come join us if you please, if you please. Join another person's eyes, we worship at our shrine. Bursting flowers into bloom, there's no such thing as time. Powers from our mother earth will blow us to our knees. Twisting, turning, minds are burning, join us if you please. And now I see that I am just beginning its demise. Flashing bits of comic light that vanish from the skies. Powers from our mother
There he is. It's that man standing over Blood Alley Square, protecting us all. Go get him, that man.